Daily Notes Log series, Daily Notes First series. Well done in making it this far. I think if you understand these concepts, you are A4 away, and you should have your system set up seamlessly. And I'm hoping that you will have the skills as well in order to adapt it to your style. So let me quickly run you through what we're going to create today. So all that we're creating today is just the yearly log. Previous video, we did the monthly log. The video before that, we did the weekly log. And yeah, this one is finishing it all off. We're going to stop with the yearly. But essentially what we have is we have the code for the pictures. We have the reviews, just like we have in the monthly notes. Then we have the tracking as well. This days in a year is basically just code that gives us all the days in a year that we use in our queries. So what this looks like is the question of me. Let me show you. So we're gonna create a new note by clicking Control P, or pressing Control P rather. We're gonna just type in yearly, and we see periodic notes, open yearly. Cool. So what we have is type yearly. We have the start date, end of year date, and number days divide. So this is something that you can change. So if you're in the middle of the year, you'll put something like 180, and the queries that we use later on would then divide by 180 to get the averages instead of 365. So because we only filled in, let's say, a week's worth of data, let's just say 7. So it makes sense. But at the end of the year, when you're going to finish your review, you're going to leave it at 365. But let's just put it at 7 because we know we only filled in 7 days. So the yearly log, we go back to reading mode. We can see that we have the previous year, next year, and then we have pictures for 2023. And here it's broken up per the months. So we can see that there's a lot of notes not created because I'm not going to go fill in every single day and every single week and every single month for this demo vault. But February should give you an idea of what it looks like. It is exactly the same as our monthly code that we use, just over a broader time span. So here we can see we have the month for week 8 for the specific days. So we're going to see all our pictures at the end of the year. And then you can obviously, which is nice about it, is, oh, I remember that day cycling and eating, and I want to go to that day. You can just click there and then have a quick review of what happened in that day. So I think it's quite nice. So if we close this down, we have the review. Here we can see we only have for Feb and March. And obviously, this is an accountability system to make sure that you fill in all the dailies, weeklies, and monthlies. It does sound like a lot of work, but I promise you the payoff at the end of the year when you see this and you can actually use data about yourself to improve yourself is going to be fantastic. So we have a log, which is going to be based off our monthly reviews. And then we have our daily log. So this is something that there's going to be 365 lines. What we're doing in upcoming videos is we're going to have line graphs, and then we're basically going to replace this. And then we have our yearly log like we did for our month, but this is just summarized for the year. But in our case, because we set the YAML front-end matter numbers divide by 7, this is only basically summarizing for the week. But if I change it to 365 and close it and reopen it, because that's how the formulas think, then we can see that it is much smaller, because it's taking a week's worth of data divided by 365. So now we can see we have this nice little breakdown of how many coffees we consumed, how many water we consumed, how many kilometers you cycled, etc., etc. And then tracking, we can see all the people, we can see experiences, we can see podcasts that we listen to, and whatever field you want. And then the last one is basically just the data, a metadata, inline metadata field that we use for our queries. So don't need to stress about that. But yeah, this is automatic. So at the end of the year, if you have been religious about filling in your details, or you can just choose what you want to fill in, what you don't want to fill in. But I do believe that at the end of the year, if you put in the work, the returns you'll see from the time that you have invested in yourself would be exponential. So let's get into it. Time to create our yearly note template. Go to templates, right click, say new note, or you can just say Control N and make sure that it goes to the correct folder. And we're going to say yearly note template for the title or template. Now what we want to do is we want to open up the monthly note template that we worked on in the previous video, and we want a base to start off of. So we're going to copy everything over, and we're going to start chopping and changing things. Okay, so scroll all the way to the top, we can close on the monthly. We want the type to be yearly. The date, there's a couple of things that we need to change. The date needs to be the start of the year. So instead of the monthly note having the start of the month, we want the yearly note to be the 1st of Jan. So you can either just say the 1st of the year. For me, I just use the title of this note, which would be, in our case, 2023. We're going to say start of instead of month. We're going to say year. We're going to add 0 days. Again, this doesn't mean anything, so you can take it out. I like to keep it in just for myself to know that this is possible with this code. And format, we want it in the format of year, month, date. For end of month date, we want to change it to end of year date, and we want to have exactly the same code as the top with some small changes. So let's just copy the above line code and paste it here. And instead of start of, we want lowercase end and then a capital O for the of. So end of with this being capital letter, and end of year, and add 0 days because we want this to be the 31st of December 2023. So now we have our date range that we are going to use for our MOCs at the bottom to pull in all our different logs. Then for previous and next, so for previous, we want moment, seep title, file title. Instead of this title being year, month, we know that the format is going to be 2023. So we want to take it as this title is basically a year. That's how the templator code interprets it, or HVJS. Yeah, templator code. And we want start of, instead of month, we want year, and we want to add -1 day. So this takes us to the 1st of Jan 2023. Then we want to add -1 day, which takes us to the 31st of December 2022, and we want formatted as, and that's it. So now we know that this is correct. So let's copy that and paste it for the next one. Instead of add -1 day, we want to add 1 day. So you can either put plus, or you can just leave the plus out, because if there's no plus or minus, it is considered to be a plus. In a parent, or for myself, I'm going to roll it up to a 5-year or 10-year note. So I'm just going to take this out. For the days, we are not sure if we want to use the day, so we can also take that out. And for the pictures, we want to pull in the pictures from the monthly note. So as you can recall from the previous videos in the series, the daily note is where we capture the pictures for a specific day. The weekly note, we pull in the 7 days within that week's photos. For the monthly note, we pull in the photos from the weekly note, which pulls in from a daily. And from the yearly, we want to pull in the monthly pictures heading, which obviously pulls from the weekly, and the weekly pulls from the daily. So everything gets funneled in from our daily notes. Therefore, the series is called the daily notes first. One thing that I neglected to change was just the title. We want this to be a yearly log. Okay, so going back to the pictures, we want to take this out, because what this does is it took the different weeks and pulled in the respective weeks' photo. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to change this a little bit. So the code that we're going to use is we're going to go back to this type of code instead of going over the different weeks, because it's much easier to pull in the monthly than it was to pull in the weekly for the monthly. The reason why I'm saying that is because we know there's always going to be, in a single year, there's going to be 12 months. So we already have that to work with, where for the weeks, we weren't sure which week is going to fall within which month. So for the yearly, we just want to pull in 12 lines, and that basically looks like this. So we have the exclamation mark to say that, cool, we want it to show a window to this specific heading that we want to pull in. And what we're doing is we're taking the moment of templator file title. So the title of this file, which would be 2023, we want the start of the year, and we want to add 0 months, meaning this is going to be January. And we want this to be formatted as month. So what this is going to return, it's going to return 2023-01, which is January. We want a hashtag to show that this is going to be a call out to a specific heading within our monthly note. And then we just want exactly the same. So if we can get an example, we previously created a monthly note for March, and we can see under pictures, we have for our monthly note, we have pictures, and then we have its date. So if we go back to yearly, we can see that this code is basically just going to go to that specific month. So let's say we're looking at March. It's going to go look for 2023-03. Cool, we are in this note. Nice. Now go look for the heading pictures, and then look for within pictures the subheading 2023-03. That's technically what it's doing. It's technically bypassing the pictures, but what it's returning is it's going to be returning this. So now that we have that, we can copy, paste, and rinse and repeat. So just make sure we copy it. And then we're going to do this 12 times. So 1, 2, 12. So now we have pasted this 12 times. And if I zoom out, we can see it a little bit more clear. Okay. Next thing that we want to do is we want to change or increment it by 1 each time. So the months, and then obviously we need to do it on both sides of the equation. So this one is going to represent January. This one is going to go for this year and pull back February. This one is going to be March because it's 2, and so on and so forth. So let me quickly just go through all of this and then we'll catch up and done. And the final one is 11. Okay. First things first, we want to test and see if this works. So we know that if we did not fill in the days and we did not fill in the weeks and we did not fill in the month. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build an accountability system for myself. I want to see where I did not get around to logging my day, because what does not get logged does not get measured. I want to feel guilty if I did not fill in my daily review. I want to see the benefits of the daily review over time. And this is the only way is to keep yourself accountable, is to make your system as easy as possible, but you would still need to put in the work in order to reap the benefits. So we know that we need to fill in every day for the week, for the month, in order to roll up to yearly log. So if we did not, which this is a demo vault, and I do not have a lot of the things filled in, there would not be a lot of pictures for the months. And there were going to be a lot of areas which says you did not fill it in, this doesn't exist, but that's fine. In your vault, you are going to start anew and you are going to feel pleasure when you see all these days rolling up into your yearly note. So first thing we want to do is we want to go to settings, we want to go to periodic notes, and like we did for the weekly and monthly, we want to activate the yearly. We want the yearly to be in this format. And now we want to specify where we want the yearly note to be. For us, we want it in our journal. So if I go to journal, let's see if we have a yearly. We do not have a yearly yet. So let's create a yearly and let's call it 04. Yeah. So we want all our yearly notes to be stored there. Let's go to settings, periodic notes, scroll the way down, format year. And we don't need it in a specific folder because I'm not intending on grouping it under a 10-year note or 100-year note. So I don't mind the note just being dropped off under their own name in the yearly folder, meaning in a daily note we have, or you can make a subfolder arrangement by using something like this, where you specify in the specific daily notes month or week, I want you to group it. So for year, we said if we are in March, or let's say we go to April for this specific daily note. Let's say this was 2023 before 01, so the 1st of April. What this first part does is it goes to our note folder and it checks if there is a monthly note that corresponds to our newly created daily notes month. If there is not, it creates one automatically. For the weekly note, we want to probably do something similar. And we also want it to be in a folder for a specific year, for a specific month. That would look like this. So we can see that the current format looks something like this, which is still the same, but it just goes and groups it when we create a new weekly note under the respective year and respective month underneath the weekly folder. So for the month, we just want to group it in our 03 monthly folder. We want different years and populate the months for a specific year in it. And then for the yearly, we don't really care. But we do still want to specify that this note template is here. So let's just yearly note template, the one that we're creating now. And then where do we want to save it when we create it through templater or through periodic notes is we want to save it in 04 journal 04 yearly. Now that is sorted, let's close it up. And one way that you can do it, you can either create a new note and then just start typing the title of 2023. But what happens then is you either need to use the AutoNote Mover plugin in order to pick up metadata fields within this note in order to automatically send it to yearly, or you need to do it manually, click and drag to the yearly. Or if you are within the specific year, what you can do is you can click Control P and you can just type in yearly. And what periodic notes offers you is if you are in the time period that you're making this note, it would automatically go to the template and fill in the details for that specific time period, which is 2023. Let's say you want to create 2022. This would not work because we are not in the previous year anymore. This only works for the current time period, meaning if for a monthly note, we want to go back 1 month. So this month is March. If we want to go back to Feb, we can't just come here and say open monthly note because it's going to take the current month. So if you want to go back in the past or into the future, you need to create it manually. But if you are in the specific time period that you want to create the note in, then you can just Control P, go to periodic note, open yearly note, and it should take the template as you specified it. Okay. So type yearly. Yes, date is the first of the year, and this is the last day of the year. Previous is 2022. 2023 is next, which is wrong. So that is one thing we need to fix, and that might be because of this +1. So let's just take the plus out because that might be causing some confusion. And then let's just clear this note. So Control A to clear or select everything, and then delete, and Alt E in order to go back to our yearly. And this still does not work. So the reason for this is our plus was not wrong, but what we didn't do is we still had start off where this should be end of, and now it should work fine. So Control A, delete, Alt E, and let's go to our yearly template. And it's a passing error. So if you get this error, it means that you did something wrong within your template code normally, but I don't see anything wrong. So let's just try again, see if it's a bug, and no, passing error. So let's take the plus out again and try it again. Passing error, which is very strange because before we made the change, it worked fine. Okay, the reason for that is I use a capital E. Again, I'm glad for these issues to pop up because I'm sure some of you would run into the same. This needs to be a lowercase e, and then the O needs to be a capital letter. And now it would work. Great. Okay. 2022, 2024. We are happy. Now for the pictures. You can see that it references each month. Within that month, it references again the month, but we know that underneath pictures for that specific month, we have the actual days. So here we can see for pictures, we have 2023. If we open up 2023, we can see we have the different months, but we know that we did not create January monthly note or the February monthly note, but in our last video we did create the March monthly note. You can see that we did not create week 9 weekly note, but we did create week 8 and 10, but 8 is in Feb. So yeah, we don't have February notes, so the only weekly notes that we have is 10 and 11. And here we see week 10. We can see the different days within week 10, the pictures. And then for week 11, we also see that it pulled it through correctly. So for myself, I like to see all my pictures because at the end of the year, I don't want to pick a favorite for each month because I think if it made it through to the monthly, I want to be able to recall certain things that happen on certain days. So for, let's say, let's find an example. This church photo. During the month, I might think, okay, it's just a church photo. But looking back in the year, instantaneously recalls memories about that day. So I remember going for a jog through a park and playing with dogs. And that brings up good memories. But if I only choose my favorite 3 photos for a specific week, instead of all of them, I think I'll struggle to go back to the actual weekly notes in order to review the pictures. So for myself, I like it. But if you feel that this is too much, then what you can do is in your weekly or your monthly, now I recommend monthly. So let's just open up our previously month created note. I'll have something like pictures favorite in my monthly note template, and then I'll choose my favorite photos from this week and basically can paste it underneath the picture's favorite one. So let's say for each week I enjoyed the bike ride, I created a new image and I published a new YouTube video. So let's say for the specific month, I then have 4 photos that represents that month. I'll have it underneath picture's favorite. And then for my yearly note template, instead of having 2023-01 and 2023-01 heading, I'll just remove the second part of this heading and just put in pictures favorite. And then this should work in order to just pull through from your monthly notes your pictures favorite. So pictures here. And then you'll obviously do that for all of them. But that's something you need to choose yourself. For myself, that's not how I roll. Just make sure this still keeps in the same. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this. Just want to let you know that is possible if you don't like clutter that much. Yeah, I don't see that as clutter. So now that we know that our pictures is pulling in fine, we want to go to our review and we want to go to our tracking. So let's go back to our Yellow Note template. So we're happy with our pictures. For this one, what we want to do is, instead of pulling from the week, because this is the monthly note code where we pull in the week review, what we want to do now is we want to pull in the monthly review. So source, date format, date, source format. So what we want here is we don't want week, but we want month. So we're going to change that. And we don't want to pull from weekly anymore. So we want to pull from monthly. So it's going to be 03 monthly. Button log is details where it contains, and this is going to be on monthly review, all lowercase because we specified it to be lower. And then date is bigger than this date, which is the start of the year, and smaller as, instead of end of month, we want end of year date. So for the review, that should work. So as always, let's go back to our yearly 2023, Control A, delete everything, E, and yearly. We know the picture is going to pull in fine. The review, we want to see if that worked. So cool. We know we only have 1 month that is pulling in here. But as soon as we create another month, so let's say do Control N, and let's say we want to create Feb, and Alt E for monthly note that we created in a previous video. We have 1 month review. This is Feb's review. And for March, we also want to fill in some details. So this is March review. Now, if we go back to 2023, we should see both, but we do not. So as always, first things first, just close it down and open it up again to see if it's not just like a timing calculation issue. And Control E, and close down your pictures. So it's only pulling in March. And now we need to figure out why it is only pulling in March for our yearly review. So if we go back here, let's first go back to our 2023 and see in our dates at the beginning what it brings back. So the date brings back the first of the year correctly, and end of year date, end of the year correctly. What this does is it goes to monthly, and that's the problem. So because we did not create the monthly of Feb through the periodic notes, meaning Control P monthly and then open monthly note, because the previous month we can't use this, and we did the Control N of new note. What we need to do is we need to take this Feb note that just got assigned to where we specify new notes to be saved, which in this vault we haven't done yet. So we'll do it after I move this. You need to manually drag it into the monthly note into the respective year. And now if you go to reading mode, in our 2023 yearly note, we see that it pulls from the 03 monthly. That February note is in the monthly folder. So now it should work fine. Cool. So that's how it would pull through the monthly reviews. And then obviously we need to change on monthly review to on yearly review. So now that works. Let's just change this yearly review. And this is where you are going to summarize your monthly reviews. So what I normally do is I have a structure where each month I basically take the summaries of the week, and each week I take the summaries of the 7 days. So I like to keep things objective, because if I'm doing a end of month review subjectively, meaning by default, you're going to be doing it at the end of the month. And if the last week of the month was a good week, you're going to attribute better feelings towards the month, even though the other 3 weeks was horrible. So what I like to do is, I'm going to bring out a video, is how I incorporate ChatGPT in order to take my daily, weekly, monthly reviews and basically create a summary using ChatGPT in order to have an objective view on how my week went based off the daily notes that I physically typed in. So this week on fill in, I can see on January that it was a tough month because it was the start of a new project at work. February, I started with Jiu-Jitsu again. My key will have insights that you can then write. And next thing that we want to do is we want to go to our logs. So this is where we have our log day rating, log sleep hours, log sleep rating, all those nice little things. So we finish with this. We want to go to our daily log. So daily log, we still want to remain or keep as daily log because we want to pull in all the days. And what we want to do is we still want to pull from daily, but now we want change end of month to end of year, and then the rest should be fine. Then this is going to be, instead of monthly, it's going to be yearly, because this is where we're going to summarize the daily information into a yearly. And we want to change each of these months to log year rating, log year average sleep hours, log year sleep rating, log year coffee consumption, log year water consumption, log year healthy eating. And then we just need to check for this file name equals this. Okay, so what this means is it needs to only go look for these metadata fields within this node, which is 2023 when we create it, because we want to pull in these calculation fields that we created. So for the log, yeah, we need to do the same. Let's change the month to year, because it's a summary of the year, and year. For the daily data that we want to pull through, for this one it is fine, because we have log day rating. Putting from the daily, we have the time stamp between those two dates. For this one, we do want to use this days still. Anything that we're going to change is just the number format. We're probably going to put 365 on it. In order to do this, we need to have all the days that we are creating somewhere in this page. For me, I'm going to go all the way to the top, and like we did for the monthly, let me just open the monthly note template. You can see we had the days here, and that just looks like this. What we want for this March 2023, pulling from this monthly note template. For the yearly, we want this plus the other 11 months data, so that we can capture all the days data. The code for that looks something like this. Just paste it here. So what it says is days, we have an array. It needs to be 365 times where it needs to iterate, and basically plus 1 to the day, and return the format as that, and then we just have a comma separating these guys. Then we want to go change. Once we go down, we now have this file's days metadata field, and if you go up, it's this guy. We want now, instead of number date format dates, to find the number of days in a month. What we want to do now is we want to divide by 365. So for 365, what we're going to do is we're going to go to end of rating. We're going to take this day out as well, and this guy out as well. Just trying to look at the closing brackets. Yeah, so it's up to here. What we're going to replace this with is 365. +1, -1, just make sure it's in a numeric format, and then the round function is ending off. So now we want to do it for the rest of them. So divided by 365. And just note that for leap years, you obviously want to change it up just a little bit, but for our purposes, I'm not going to go that in depth. And we want 365 of eating number date format. We also want to take this up to here, 365. For log coffee and log water, you can choose to divide this to see the average daily log coffee. I like to see the entire thing. I just find it quite nice. So we're going to keep it like this. So before we get to tracking, let's test this. So let's go to March and let's delete this node. And now we're going to press Control P and we're going to say monthly, and then periodic notes, and click yes. And we are checking the monthly, but what we should be doing is we should be checking the yearly. So let's go to 2023. And let's delete this bad boy and Control P, and we're going to say yearly. No, it's opening it in it. Now we see all the days for the year that's pulled in. It's just that one simple query. Everything else looks fine. Let's close the pictures down. Let's go to reading mode. Okay, now we can see all the days that is active, because this is a demo vault. We only have a couple of days. You can see for most of them we haven't filled in because it's not an active vault, but the log year rating is doing its job. Obviously, we only have, let's say, at most 30 days logged here. So this is only 30 days worth of information that's being divided by 365 days. So obviously all of this is going to be extorted, the averages. These guys should be accurate, but that's one thing. If you want to change it, then you can change it. For me, I'm not going to go back to yearly notes like every couple of months, but what you can do is you can create a variable at the top. Like, let's actually do it because I think it's good practice. Number days divide, and then you can have something like, let's say 30. Then instead of the 365, you can say number days divide, and we want to specify that is dot, I think. Let's see if this works. With these type of queries, we always need to close it and reopen open it and let's scroll down. Let's go to reading mode and we can see that 0.5. So just to be sure, let's only divide by, instead of dividing by 30, let's divide by 1 to see if it changes. So we're gonna not delete this. We're gonna open 2023 again, and the last one was 0.5. This one should now be more than 0.5, and we can see it's 15. So that works. So you can take this number, divide, and you can paste it where you saw the 365. And now you can determine, like, okay, we are basically in January and we only have 30 days. So you can then decide how many days you want to divide by. So if I close and reopen it, you can see that the one should be returning to 0.5. But all the other guys has gone a little bit bigger. But yeah, we haven't filled in information for most of them. So that's that. You can see how you can adapt it to your own needs. I'm only here to help you with the resources in order to do what you want to do. So tracking. This is going to be the same. So for the tracking, the only thing that's going to change is basically the date range. So for the date range, we want to use this guy. So let's just select this one and we are going to replace this. We're going to replace this one. Lastly, we'll replace this one. Okay. And we have done this for 2023 and not in our yearly note template because I sometimes forget what I'm doing. So let's just copy, go to tracking, and let's just do very sensitive. There we go. Let's just remove that and let's repaste it. So I just Control Z because I realized I chose the wrong selection. And we choose sort of people, happiness, and here we see we still haven't done the divide by this divide number. So let's just also copy that and take a look at template. And then obviously we need to go all the way to the top and we need to just take the number divide. So this is something you can just change at the top, or you can just put it here in the YAML if you don't want to see it all the time. So let's just change it to 365. Okay, so this then should be fine. Let's test it one last time. Delete file, and now we want to do Control P and periodic note. We want yearly. Periodic notes, open yearly note, and let's go to reading mode. Second year, next year, previous year, we have all the days. Obviously this, if you don't like to see it because it doesn't look pretty, go place it at the bottom of the note. Then we have the pictures, all the pictures are pulling in fine. Happiness, and we have the reviews, that's pulling in fine. We have all the days, and obviously if you don't want to see this, you can also just put it down at the bottom. But I think it's nice to see trends. In a later video, we'll go through the visualizations that we can use in order to make this information more accessible to drawing conclusions. So that is probably going to be the next video. Yearly log is fine because it's divided by 365. Then the people, these are all the people we had interactions with or chats with or recommendations with. Note for the book recommendations, it's also going to be popping up here. So like we said, with the log, it gets pulled through to multiple places, and the podcast pulling in fine, and the experiences also pulling in fine. So yeah, it's quite nice. And that is your yearly note. And obviously you need to adapt it to your style. But we are done with the daily note first template and working it into our review notes. So I've learned a lot through these videos. I hope you have as well. I truly believe that for somebody to follow along from the beginning, the first video till now, you should have a good skill set and know what is possible and what is not possible. So I want to thank you for making it to this final video, because it definitely does take a lot of dedication, but just know you are investing in yourself. So I'm proud of you. But strength and honor upon your kin, and may the light illuminate you over this beautiful weekend. Until next time, ciao.